I am Dr. Laura Moreno, and in this video, I want to talk to you clearly and honestly about a very common plant that can help reduce inflammation, yet almost no one truly takes advantage of it in the right way. This is not an exotic herb, not a rare supplement, and not something expensive. It's something many people already have at home or see regularly, but they don't know how to use it properly or what it actually does in the body. The plant I'm talking about is turmeric. Turmeric has been used for generations, mostly as a spice, but its real value goes far beyond flavor. The problem is not that turmeric doesn't work. The problem is that most people use it in a way that makes it almost useless, so they never experience its real benefits. To understand why turmeric matters, we first need to talk about inflammation. Inflammation is not always bad. Acute inflammation is part of healing. It's how the body protects itself when there's an injury or an infection. The real issue is chronic, low-grade inflammation, the kind that doesn't cause sharp pain or obvious symptoms, but quietly stays active in the body day after day. This type of inflammation is extremely common. It's behind many things people normalize: joint stiffness, digestive discomfort, bloating, muscle aches, fatigue, brain fog, poor recovery, and even sleep problems. Many people live in an inflamed state without realizing it because it doesn't always scream. It whispers. Turmeric contains a natural compound called curcumin, which is responsible for its anti-inflammatory effect. Curcumin doesn't shut inflammation off aggressively like some medications do. Instead, it helps regulate and calm the inflammatory response, which is exactly what the body needs in chronic inflammation. But here's the key reason almost no one benefits from turmeric. Curcumin is very poorly absorbed if it's used incorrectly. This means you can consume turmeric every day and still get almost nothing from it. This is why so many people say, "I tried turmeric and it didn't do anything." In most cases, they weren't using turmeric the way the body can actually use it. Turmeric is not a painkiller. It does not work in 1 hour. It does not create a dramatic sensation. Its effect is slow, cumulative, and subtle, and that's exactly why it's useful for chronic inflammation. One of the biggest benefits of turmeric is its effect on the digestive system. The gut is one of the main sources of chronic inflammation in modern life. Poor digestion, altered gut bacteria, frequent bloating, constipation, diarrhea, and food sensitivities all send inflammatory signals throughout the body. When used correctly, turmeric can help calm the digestive lining and reduce that constant inflammatory signaling. This doesn't just affect the gut, it affects joints, energy levels, the immune system, and even the brain. Turmeric is also helpful for people with mild joint stiffness, muscle discomfort from overuse, and inflammation related to stress. Stress itself is inflammatory. When the nervous system is constantly activated, the body produces inflammatory signals even without injury. Turmeric doesn't remove stress, but it can help reduce the inflammatory burden that stress creates in the body. Now let's talk about why most people use turmeric wrong. The first major mistake is using turmeric without black pepper. Black pepper contains piperine, a compound that dramatically increases the absorption of curcumin. Without black pepper, most of the curcumin passes through the digestive system without being absorbed. The second mistake is using turmeric without fat. Curcumin is fat-soluble. This means it needs fat to be absorbed. Taking turmeric with water alone makes it much less effective. The third mistake is using tiny amounts and expecting big results. Sprinkling a little turmeric once in a while does not create a meaningful anti-inflammatory effect. Another common mistake is thinking that taking more is better. Large amounts of turmeric can irritate the stomach in some people, especially those with sensitive digestion. Turmeric works best in moderate, consistent amounts, not in excess. So how should turmeric actually be used? One of the simplest ways is through cooking, but with intention. Adding turmeric to soups, stews, vegetables, or grains, together with a pinch of black pepper and a source of healthy fat like olive oil, makes a big difference. Another common method is a warm turmeric drink, often called golden milk. This is usually prepared with milk or a plant-based alternative, turmeric, black pepper, and a small amount of fat. This form can be especially soothing for people with muscle or joint discomfort. There are also turmeric supplements, but this is where caution is needed. Not all supplements are well formulated. Some contain very little curcumin or lack proper absorption support. And not everyone needs supplements. For many people, culinary use done correctly is enough. Turmeric is not a quick fix. Most people who benefit from it notice changes after several weeks of consistent use. These changes are often subtle: less stiffness, better digestion, less bloating, improved comfort, a general feeling of reduced inflammation. Not everyone feels the same effects. Each body has a different inflammatory load and different causes. It's also important to say who should be careful. People with gallbladder problems, bile duct issues, bleeding disorders, or those taking blood thinners should not use turmeric regularly without guidance. People with very sensitive stomachs may also need lower amounts or may not tolerate it well. Turmeric does not replace a healthy lifestyle. It won't cancel out a highly inflammatory diet, poor sleep, or chronic stress. But when it's used as part of a more coherent routine, it can support the body in a meaningful way. What makes turmeric interesting is not that it's powerful in an aggressive way, but that it's accessible, affordable, and supportive when used correctly. It's not a trend. It's been around for a long time, but misunderstood. Inflammation is not solved overnight. It's reduced gradually by removing stressors and adding gentle supports. Turmeric can be one of those supports. And as you start to understand what turmeric actually does, why most people don't benefit from it, and how small changes in how you use it can completely change its effect, it becomes clear that this common plant is not ineffective at all. It's simply underused, misunderstood, and rarely integrated in a way that allows the body to truly benefit, opening the door to explore what types of inflammation respond best, how long to use it, and what mistakes completely cancel its benefits when people try to use it without proper context. To really understand why turmeric can make a difference for some people and not for others, it's important to talk about the type of inflammation it works best for and the expectations people often have that lead to disappointment. Turmeric tends to be most helpful for chronic low-grade inflammation, not for acute pain or severe inflammatory conditions that require medical treatment. This is the kind of inflammation that builds slowly over time and becomes part of everyday life. Joint stiffness that comes and goes, digestive discomfort after meals, bloating, mild muscle soreness, general fatigue, and a sense that the body is inflamed without a clear cause all fall into this category. Many people live with this type of inflammation for years, assuming it's normal aging or stress. Because it doesn't cause sharp pain, it's easy to ignore. Turmeric doesn't turn off inflammation overnight. Instead, it helps reduce the background noise of inflammation, which is why its effects are gradual. Another situation where turmeric may help is inflammation related to digestive imbalance. The gut plays a central role in immune and inflammatory responses. When digestion is irritated, inflamed, or out of balance, the entire body feels it. By supporting the digestive lining and calming irritation, turmeric can indirectly reduce systemic inflammation. Turmeric may also be useful in people whose inflammation is linked to stress. Chronic stress activates inflammatory pathways even when there is no physical injury. In these cases, turmeric does not eliminate stress, but it may help reduce the inflammatory response that stress creates in the body. However, turmeric is much less effective when inflammation is driven by ongoing habits that remain unchanged. A diet high in ultra-processed foods, constant sugar spikes, poor sleep, and persistent stress will overpower the effect of turmeric. This is one of the main reasons people say it doesn't work. Another key point is time. Turmeric is not designed to create immediate relief. Most people who benefit from it notice changes after 2 to 4 weeks of regular, correct use. Some people need more time. The body needs consistency to shift inflammatory patterns. Using turmeric occasionally, or only when symptoms flare, usually leads to no noticeable effect. Its value comes from repeated, moderate exposure over time. Quality also matters. Turmeric powder loses potency over time, especially if it's old or poorly stored. A weak aroma and dull color often indicate low potency. Fresh, properly stored turmeric is more likely to have an effect. When it comes to supplements, formulation is critical. Many turmeric supplements contain curcumin, but without proper absorption support. Others include piperine, but in amounts that may irritate the stomach. More is not always better. Another mistake is combining turmeric with multiple other supplements that also affect inflammation or digestion. This can overwhelm the system and make it hard to know what's helping and what's causing discomfort. Turmeric should be introduced gradually. Starting with small amounts allows the body to adapt and reduces the risk of digestive upset. If someone starts with a large dose and feels discomfort, they often abandon it entirely, assuming it's not for them. It's also important to recognize when turmeric is not appropriate. People with gallbladder disease, bile duct obstruction, bleeding disorders, or those preparing for surgery should be cautious. Turmeric is natural, but it is active. People with very sensitive digestion or active gastritis may also need to avoid it or use very small amounts with food. Another overlooked factor is that turmeric works best when paired with other anti-inflammatory habits. Adequate hydration, regular movement, sufficient sleep, and stress regulation all enhance its effect. Without these, turmeric has very little to work with. Many people expect turmeric to behave like a medication. When it doesn't, they assume it's useless. But turmeric is more like a supportive signal than a drug. It nudges the body toward balance rather than forcing a change. This is also why the benefits are often subtle: less stiffness, fewer digestive flare-ups, better recovery, a general feeling of improved comfort. These changes may not feel dramatic, but they matter over time. Using turmeric doesn't mean ignoring symptoms. If pain is severe, progressive, or unexplained, medical evaluation is always necessary. Turmeric is not meant to mask serious problems. What makes turmeric unique is that it's accessible and simple, yet often misunderstood. When used thoughtfully, it can reduce unnecessary inflammatory load and support the body's natural regulatory systems. And when you start to see turmeric not as a miracle cure, but as one small, consistent tool within a broader approach to health, its value becomes much clearer, making it easier to understand why almost no one truly benefits from it. Not because it doesn't work, but because it's rarely used in a way that allows the body to respond properly. Another reason almost no one truly benefits from turmeric is that people often look for one single cause of inflammation, when in reality, inflammation is usually layered. It's not coming from just one place, it's coming from digestion, stress, sleep, movement, hormones, and daily habits all at once. Turmeric can help lower the overall inflammatory load, but it can't cancel out everything by itself. This is why context matters so much. Someone who starts using turmeric while also improving sleep, eating fewer ultra-processed foods, and moving their body gently will often notice clearer results than someone who simply adds turmeric on top of the same habits that caused inflammation in the first place. There's also an important psychological factor. When people don't feel an immediate effect, they assume nothing is happening. But inflammation doesn't disappear loudly. It quiets down slowly. Many people only realize turmeric helped when they stop using it and notice that stiffness, discomfort, or digestive symptoms slowly return. Another overlooked issue is expectation of pain relief. Turmeric is not meant to numb pain, it supports regulation. That means the goal isn't "I feel nothing," but "my body feels less reactive." Less swelling, less tightness, fewer flare-ups, more tolerance to daily stressors. That's the real benefit. Turmeric can also play a role in long-term protection, not just symptom relief. Chronic inflammation accelerates aging, affects joints, blood vessels, the brain, and metabolic health. Reducing that baseline inflammation even slightly can have cumulative benefits over years. This is especially relevant for people who feel not sick, but not well either. That gray zone where there's no diagnosis, but energy is low, recovery is slow, and the body feels inflamed more often than not. Turmeric fits better in this space than in acute illness. It's also worth mentioning that turmeric works differently depending on how the body processes it. Digestive health matters. If digestion is poor, absorption is poor. Supporting digestion first often makes turmeric more effective. Some people notice better results when turmeric is taken earlier in the day with meals, while others prefer it in the evening in a warm drink. There's no universal rule. The body's response is the guide. Another subtle benefit people sometimes notice is improved comfort after physical activity. Not because turmeric acts like a muscle relaxant, but because it reduces the inflammatory response that can linger after exertion, especially in people who are sensitive to overuse. Turmeric is also not something that needs to be used forever. Many people use it in periods, especially during times of higher inflammatory load, like stress, increased physical activity, seasonal changes, or recovery phases. Then they take breaks. This cyclical use often works better than continuous, unbroken use because it prevents digestive irritation and keeps the body responsive. What's interesting is that when people finally use turmeric correctly, they often realize it wasn't useless before, it was simply being wasted. Wrong combinations, wrong expectations, wrong timing, or no consistency. And this pattern isn't unique to turmeric. It happens with many natural supports. They fail not because they don't work, but because they're treated like shortcuts instead of tools. Inflammation is a signal. Turmeric doesn't silence the signal aggressively. It helps the body lower the volume. And sometimes lowering the volume is exactly what allows healing to happen. As you start to understand this, the question stops being, does turmeric work? And becomes, is my body in a state where turmeric can help? And that shift in perspective is what allows this very common plant to finally make sense. Not as a miracle, not as a cure, but as a simple, underestimated support that most people never truly use in a way that allows its benefits to unfold over time. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss upcoming videos where we explain, in a clear and balanced way, how common plants and daily habits affect inflammation and overall health. Share this video with someone who lives with constant inflammation without understanding why. Leave your questions or experiences in the comments and join me as we continue learning how to support the body with simple, realistic tools used the right way over time.